I think in general, all of us want to. I mean, our goal is to leave a legacy. Do you think leaving a legacy is a selfish or an egotistical type motive, or?
I don't think so. I think that it depends on your motivation. It depends on your mindset.
Real Dads Lead. And welcome to another episode of Real Dads Lead. I'm your host, Dwayne Smith, and next to me, as always, is my main man, Matt Hamilton. Good to see you again, Matt.
You too.
Like promised, it's another week.
That's right.
1 week away.
Yep, every Thursday.
Every
That's the goal.
Thursday. Yeah, that's the goal. If we don't do more, then at least we'll do that, right? At least we'll do that. So, how was your week?
It was good.
Good. Anything exciting happen with the boys or the girls? How's Elias? So you got a young one at home, right? And every time I call and talk, at least to your wife, she's always got Elias hanging all over her. Or, oh, what did she say the other day? She said that Elias, we found some dryer ball in the trash can. So, I just found a dryer ball in the trash can. He's always throwing stuff away.
Yeah, we'll find bracelets, we'll find phones, we'll find all kinds of stuff in the trash can.
It's kind of like the, what is the Toy Story? I don't know if it's 4. Have you seen the Toy Story movies?
Toy Story 17, maybe.
Maybe. Have you seen the Toy Story movies?
Yes.
The one with Forky.
Yes.
I
think that was the last one.
Always wanting to go in the trash. Trash? That's what Elias thinks of everything, huh?
Yeah.
Everything's trash.
He does a good job. We'll give him his diaper after we change him, and he'll go throw it away, for us. Or like when he's done with his bottle, he'll go put it in the sink.
Really?
Yeah. He knows, but he just loves putting things in that trash can. I don't know what it is.
Is it a special trash can, like one that you step on and the lid lifts up?
It is, but he doesn't step on it. He's not strong enough yet to do that. He just lifts it up with his hand. So we, throughout the day, we have something heavy on top of the trash can. Yeah. So, I mean, he's everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, he loves to climb. The other day, he was on top of the piano. I turned the corner and found him on top of the piano.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't know how to get down.
Okay.
So, I mean, an 18-month-old on top of the piano is not a good situation.
No, right.
So, anyway, he's a lot of fun, but he's a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What do the kids think?
They love him, too. Yeah. We've had a lot of sickness in the home this past week, a lot of coughing, but I think everybody's getting over it.
Okay, well.
How about you?
That's good. Yeah, my week has been full of it's pretty average week for me this week. So my son Chad, who is at school at Huntington University in Indiana, he texted me and said, because they had a track meet, they were supposed to have a track meet last weekend, and then all the snow that we got and the cold, they got a lot more in Michigan. That's where it was going to be. So they decided not to go. But I was looking forward to watch, because you can watch their meets online or keep up with them. I was looking forward to that, and it got canceled. So that was a little bit of a bummer. Disappointment. But he texted me and said that they're going to not reschedule, but do a makeup meet for something that's closer by. So that wasn't on the schedule, so I'm looking forward to that.
Good.
And the next week, hopefully, he'll be here in Ohio. They are scheduled to be at Wittenberg, so it's only an hour away. That'll be nice to head on over there. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But overall, we've just been kind of chilling. Yeah.
How's Scott doing?
Scott's doing good. So he's been working. He still works on his little videos, YouTube videos as well. And I think on one of our videos, I get a highlight of him. So if you haven't seen that, you can go back. Maybe I'll put it up here. But yeah, he's still making his little videos. His Sonic I would say, Sonic spoof. So he's got a character named Skylar the Fox, but it's based on the character of Sonic. So Skylar the Fox, she runs fast and she goes and helps people, and she gets runs away from or tries to avoid the Madame Goomba. That's the evil character. That's the antagonist in his shows. And it's the same as what is the guy, Dr.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
The old one was Dr. Robotnik. Then
that's what I was thinking of.
That's the newer one is Dr.
No idea.
I can't think of it either. You guys might know it. Put it in the chat if you do.
He's super creative. Scott is very creative.
Yeah.
I love his mind.
Yeah. So he helps me out a lot, especially in my computer stuff when I'm trying to figure out stuff. But and I started another podcast.
Oh, nice.
With your Kyle.
Yeah.
So we got that first episode done.
What's it called?
You can check that out. It's Competing for Christ.
Okay.
Podcast.
And it is about?
It's about basically competing in life. We based it on the 1 Corinthians 9:24-27 verses. That those who run in a race all run, but only one wins the prize. Run in such a manner that you might win the prize. So just kind of encouraging people. I mean, it's probably starting off more sports related, just because Kyle's a pretty big athlete, and I love athletics and sports as well, and then our love for Christ is also a big part of it. So you can check out that very first episode, Competing for Christ.
What did you talk about in the first episode?
We just talked about a little bit on highly competitive people and the pros and cons of what it means to be highly competitive. I don't know if you've ever played like a board game or done something with a family and you've got somebody who is highly competitive.
Yes.
To the point where they get very visibly
it ruins
upset.
The game.
Ruins the game. Yeah. So those are some of the cons, but on the other hand, those are, the people who are like
there's a lot of drive there.
Yeah.
Tend to accomplish things.
Right. Exactly. So
like annoyingly winning the board game. I know that kind of person.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't name any names.
We won't name any names. That's good. So I know it's difficult for me sometimes to understand that mindset. I'm competitive, but I'm not highly competitive. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's sometimes some parts of me who wishes I had that drive, and there's parts of me that are glad I don't sometimes. So, but I think it's just a balance of when and where.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that's what we talked about.
Cool.
It was fun. It was really fun.
I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, I have to show you the clip of it.
I love that it's a father-son duo.
Yeah. Yeah, which is what this podcast is all about.
That's
Having
true.
your father-child relationships and being a great father. So, with that, we will let's move on into
Chapter 20.
Chapter 20 of the book, Stepping Up, A Call to Courageous Manhood by Dennis Rainey.
Flash it here again one more time.
Chapter 20 was, what was the name of it?
The one that we're on, you mean?
Yeah.
Chapter 20, Becoming a Generational Messenger.
Oh, yeah, Becoming a Generational Messenger. Just that title itself kind of gave me some, that's good.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I think, in general, all of us want to, our goal is to leave a legacy. Do you think leaving a legacy is a selfish or an egotistical type motive, or?
I don't think so. I think that it depends on your motivation. It depends on your mindset. I think that for me, recognizing that we're made in the image of God and therefore meant to image God, like that's part of our purpose. It's not wrong for me to want to live into that purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to please God by being a good imager, which looks like being a certain kind of man and passing on certain truths to my children, to the next generation. Like I want to do it to please God, to feel fulfilled, which is not, again, a bad thing, and for the good of my kids and then their kids.
So we're kind of following up on last week's every man needs another man.
Right.
The whole idea of mentorship, we're following up on that. This is just a continuation of that. But it does seem like when you are, trying to be a mentor to someone, I don't know, it can get to the point where it's like, I want to be remembered. I want to be known for something, or I'm passing this on, but I want them to, I don't know I don't think it's necessarily the motive, but it's in the back of your head. How do you know if you have been a generational messenger unless people are talking about you from past or from future generations?
I think one way to know is just the fact that no matter what, you're a generational messenger. No matter what. You're either a good one or you're a bad one, right? I mean, a bad dad is generationally passing on bad habits.
Yeah, right.
So no matter what you do, you'll be a generational messenger. So as long as you are doing the right thing, as long as you are intentionally pouring into your children and other young men that God might bring into your life what's true and good, you are going to be a generational messenger that is effective, or that's just, you're going to be a good generational messenger. You don't have to question it. Whether or not they remember your name is unimportant.
Yeah, right.
And the fact is, at least 3 generations from now, nobody will remember Dwayne or Matt. They just won't. But again, we're not doing it to be remembered. We're doing it to bring God glory and for the good of others, and to live into our created purpose as imagers of Him.
That makes sense. I like that. I really like that. The idea that you are, no matter what, going to be a generational messenger. It's kind of like the professional ball player who says that I'm not a role model. It's like, no, it doesn't matter what. You are a role model.
Yeah, right.
You can be a good role model or you can be a bad role model, but you can't deny that the position that you're in and the people that are watching you are being influenced.
That's correct, yeah.
So no matter what, you're
a model of good character or you're a model of bad character.
Yeah.
Period.
Right. And they're saying that in order to dismiss the responsibility. But we need to, as men and as parents, men and women, as parents, we need to cling on to that and accept that responsibility and thrive.
Realize that it's happening. Realize what path we're heading down and what path we're leading our kids down right now. And if we don't like that path, we need to change and realize that it starts with us.
Right. And I do think that in most cases we don't really understand how much of an impact we actually have.
Yeah, that's true.
When we are doing whatever, we're like, this is not affecting anybody.
Yeah.
This is only affecting me.
Yeah.
And that's why, sometimes sinful habits can, fester because you're thinking that it's not affecting anybody except for me.
Yeah.
But it does affect everybody.
It does. I think it can go the other way too, though. I think that we can actually be doing a good job and selling ourselves short. You're feeling like we're actually not being good generational messengers. We fail to see all the good things that we're actually passing on.
Yeah.
So I think we need to probably take inventory and say, okay, what good things am I doing right now? Just for some encouragement. And maybe that's a personality issue. I tend to fall into that category that I just mentioned. I feel like I'm constantly beating myself up because I'm not doing enough. But occasionally someone will step into my life, whether it's my wife speaking or a friend, and they'll point something out And I'm like, oh, that's true. Like I do this every day, for my kids. And that is going to have generational impact. That is something that they enjoy. It's something that they're likely to pass on to their children. So I need to rejoice and celebrate in those little victories as I continue to press on and do even more.
Mm-hmm. So that is within your own family. And we can also be generational messengers outside of our family. And I think that's what this whole thing of mentorship is about. And other people can be generational messengers to our own children as well. So let's get into it. Let's. What is the first quote? If you can read that for us.
This is an excellent quote. It's by Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Dietrich.
It is the righteous man who lives for the next generation.
Short, sweet, and to the point. It is the righteous man who lives for the next generation.
Right. So he has foresight.
Yeah.
Right. He realizes life doesn't begin and end with him.
Yeah.
Everything that he does or we do in this generation is going to affect the next generation and then the next generation. Right.
Right. And that's kind of answers my question as far as not being egotistical, because you're not doing it for yourself.
Right.
It's not. He didn't say to be remembered. It's for the good of the next generation. Yeah. I don't know much about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Do you know?
Yeah,
I know there's a movie coming out, which I'm interested in. But
Yep. Angel Studios, right?
I think
Is that correct? I think it's Angel Studios. I'm excited about it. Very excited about it. I have a friend who actually looks like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He is stoked.
Oh.
And a little bit ticked that they didn't choose him to be the actor. But anyway, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a German Lutheran pastor and seminary professor during the Nazi regime in Germany. He ran an underground seminary and was very outspoken against the Nazis and for Christ. Has a lot of really great works that he's known for. Very prolific writer. Probably his most well-known book is called The Cost of Discipleship. And in that book, he talks a lot about cheap grace versus costly grace. So this idea that cheap grace is we can just believe and we're free and we can do whatever we want, versus costly grace, that grace actually cost Christ something. And it also costs you something because he's calling you to deny yourself and follow him with your entire life. And that's exactly what we see him do. Probably the world, if they know him for anything, it's he participated in an attempt to assassinate Hitler, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was a big deal in his life because he was a pacifist. And he was just in turmoil over this. But he saw everything that was going on, everything that Hitler was doing, and he essentially talked himself into, reasoned himself into, I think that we do need to try to take his life. And so there was a secret meeting that Hitler was heading up in some remote location in a small building. And they went and attempted to blow it up, and they missed him. He obviously got away. If I'm thinking right, I think that even after the fact, he still struggled with the idea that he tried to do that. Just an exceptional man, really great man. He was eventually he was on the top hit list for Hitler, actually.
Oh, really?
Himself, yeah. He had made a name for himself. Hitler made sure that he was imprisoned. He was in a concentration camp. And again, if I remember correctly, when news that the war may be coming to an end came about, Hitler, by direct order of Hitler himself, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was taken out of the prison, and he knew it was coming. He had one last service for the prisoners and ministered to them. They took Dietrich out of the city, stripped him naked, and hung him. Made sure he died before
the war was over.
Before the war ended.
Wow,
yeah. He's an amazing man.
Oh man! Now I really want to watch the movie.
Right.
I wonder what parts they're going to cover in it. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Angel Studios would leave anything out.
Yeah,
But his family was interesting. I think he was a child, one of 9, and one of his brothers, actually, all of his siblings were very successful and intelligent. One of his brothers moved from Germany to America and was on the same team as Albert Einstein to create the atomic bomb.
Oh, my goodness. That's why I like having you around.
It's a crazy story. It's amazing.
So many, but I love it. I'm excited to see that movie.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do a review on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was his quote, and then we jump in further into the book, and Dennis essentially tells us that. He gets into the name of the chapter, right? That men are meant to be generational messengers. I'm just going to read that quote. He said, God designed men to be generational messengers, sending messages of character, values, and vision through other men to a time beyond our horizon. So that's getting back to the Bonhoeffer quote, right? We live for the next generation. We were made to outlive ourselves, generationally speaking, by mentoring younger men. And then he quotes 2 Timothy 2:1-2, in which Paul says this. He says, You therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. The things which you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, and here it is, entrust these to faithful men who will then be able to teach others also. Mm-hmm. So it's meant to be this endless chain of faithful men passing on the truth to other faithful men who will pass it on to other faithful men. Right. This is a way of preserving truth itself, but also manhood at its finest.
Yeah. That's interesting because that's a New Testament scripture, Paul to Timothy. But in the Old Testament or in history, not many people could read. Not many people could, go to, what was it, learn from whoever, the priest or whatever. So everything was oral. And it was but that the Israelites themselves preserved all this stuff, teaching from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next, without having the prolific scriptures, the prolific medium that we have today that we can all read and watch and listen and do all that kind of stuff. So I think we're trying to get back to that because it's with all the stuff that we have now, media and everything, that we tend to isolate a little bit and not seek wisdom and seek to pass it on. But that was kind of their culture, it seems to me.
Yeah, I think it's just a new thought. I'm going to try to articulate it. New as in 10 seconds ago now. I think in one way writing is kind of cheap and has robbed us of a lot of good, because we write things and we put it out there and our words become detached from who we actually are, versus in an oral culture, in Deuteronomy 6, it's primarily the father. You're passing on truth orally to your children or to other young men, but you're doing it in the context of your life, right? So they see and they're experiencing that truth lived out. So it becomes all the more compelling, right? And all the more easily absorbed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's easier then to pass it on. So I wonder if there's potentially more of a I don't know what I want to say, a protective nature in that method of passing on truth. Yeah. And it's not that we can't get back to it again. I think what you're saying is we can do that and should be doing that with our kids. And in a way we are, again, right? If we're all generational messengers, good or bad, every dad is passing on things to his children, not just by what he says or doesn't say, but by how he acts in relation to those words, Yeah. So anyway,
I like that. So then Dennis then kind of highlighted 3 different qualities that a generational messenger or a mentor should have in general in order to pass on, maximize this influence. And just real quick, those 3 were being available, being purposeful, and what was the third one?
Being authentic.
Authentic, yeah. Being authentic.
Yeah.
So just highlight some of those.
Yeah, just real quickly
that we're going to do. Being available. It seems obvious, but I think that is probably the hardest of the three, maybe. Just if somebody comes up to you, we kind of talked about this last week a little bit. That's one of the things like, man, I just don't have time for this, or I don't want to make time for this because it could be draining
right
in the future.
Yeah. And I think some other problems are we can have our priorities off. You probably do have time for this. Maybe you're not organized enough with your time. I think we have a lot of dead time, more than we realize, or a lot of wasted time. But then also it's possible that not only, what was I going to say? Just lost my train of thought. So that we just don't prioritize it. Our time is actually filled, but we're prioritizing things that shouldn't be prioritized over something like this. If we're meant to be generational messengers, if as he's suggesting, especially after you become an empty nester, you're now entering that prime time of your life. If the main objective there is to make sure that you're passing on what you've learned to other men so they can learn those truths at an even younger age, right, and become even more effective and godly men, then we need to make that a priority. There's other things in our life that maybe we need to cut,
Right.
And the example he used was the COO of Walmart, a godly man. I don't know if he's still the COO of Walmart, but you can imagine he's crazy busy.
Yeah.
I think, what was it? He had taken it from zero to a $200 billion business.
Yeah.
But he took the time to invest in mentoring leadership-wise into Dennis Rainey.
Yeah.
He sat there and he listened. So, being available. It's something we can do. We might just have to alter our lives a little bit, make some sacrifices for this greater good. So the second one is being a mentor, being purposeful as a mentor. So he said that you are, as a mentor, taking a young man to a place that he wouldn't go by himself. And I think that he might not go there by himself for one of two reasons. One, maybe because he doesn't want to go there. We have to push younger men to think about things that they don't want to, or challenge them in ways they don't want to be challenged. But another reason might be because he doesn't know to go there. I know that when I was younger, I could have used some really good advice, but the option wasn't even in my mind. The right options weren't in my mind. And hindsight is always 20/20. How many times have we looked back and said, man, I wish I would have known this when I was younger.
Right.
Being a mentor is an opportunity to make sure that they do know it when they're younger. If certain dads that I'm pouring into, new dads, could know and put into practice now, early on in their fatherhood, what I came to know all too late, then the potential for them being a fantastic father is all the greater.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because being purposeful, do you think you're outlining something that you're going to try and help with or instill, or is it more of a natural, organic outpouring? It's kind of like, I'm going to put this person on my wing and I'm going to teach them this and this and this and this, or is it more, this person's needs and I'm just going to see if I can, help with those things?
It seems like he's talking about kind of broad categories, but that you're both aware of, and I don't know how specific you can really plan it out, because within each category, that person's experiences and needs are going to be different than the next guy's.
Yeah, with his Walmart story, he actually initiated the mentorship. Dennis did. He went to the CEO and says, "Can you help me with, or help me learn how you do that?" What was it, like some kind of a vision planning? I think it was vision planning, because he wanted to learn how to do that for his, what his future company and stuff would be.
Yeah. So I missed that part. Was he a believer? I don't know that he mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't think it was the mentoring of, in a spiritual sense, but
Yeah, it was
more
leadership.
of a leadership.
Yeah, which I'm not saying that you can't be mentored by a believer. Obviously, there's different areas that we need to be mentored by, but I just want to make sure I don't attribute something to him that's not true.
Yeah.
But it says he was the former chief operating officer, so I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that. Okay, yeah. So he says a mentor purposely builds life lessons into those he mentors. And he says, to answer your question, as you consider being a mentor, think through what makes life work for you at work, at home, and in your relationships. Those are kind of broad categories that you're talking about with your mentee. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And he gives a little bit of a more specific list. What have you learned about handling pressure and balancing the pace of life, working with people, building and keeping friendships with other men, investing in your marriage, resolving conflict, etc. There's several things there. Reading and understanding, applying scripture, raising your children. This is, I think, more of a preparatory thought process, he's saying, to help you realize that you do have things to pass on, right? And these will inevitably be things that your mentee wants to know, right? But he did say they read books together, right? And sometimes it's just wide open, and they talk about marriage and some hard conversations. I think just like in anything else, when you have an organic conversation, certain experiences that you've had come to mind, and you have something to offer there. Yeah. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I just think, in my case, I feel like it is probably better to have like an organic conversations that lead to these things, but be like the scripture says, always be prepared to give an answer for your hope.
Yeah, kind
of idea, like being able to say, if this thing comes up, this is, already have thought it out of what makes my what makes my marriage work, what makes my relationships work, what are the good things, and also what are the pitfalls, because we've all had pitfalls, and you're like, when you are trying to mentor someone, you're like, these are the things you need to avoid, and this is why, because these are the things that happened to me when I did not avoid those pitfalls type thing. Right. So I just don't want to scare anybody off trying to be a mentor, and you're like, okay, well, I've got to organize and try to figure out how I'm going to do this and that and this. But
you could be organized for sure, but I don't think it's necessary. I do think, though, that having those big, broad categories is important in your mind. So, for example, if this is meant to be a kind of how do you become the man you want to be kind of mentorship, it's not specifically leadership at work. Right, because you could have that kind of a leadership mentor relationship, right? But if this is all-encompassing, what does it mean to be a good man kind of mentoring relationship, and all he wants to talk about organically is his workplace, you, I think, would be right to say, look, there's other things in your life that we need to talk about here. We need to talk about your marriage. We need to talk about your parenting, right? And really, they're all interconnected. But I guess that's what I'm saying is that as an older man, you realize what's really important in life,
right? And
you need to help them achieve that same focus.
And how would you do
that? Then it can be organic. You know, like you can talk to them about their marriage, ask them questions about their marriage, and issues are probably going to come up, especially as he gets more and more comfortable with you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it's, I mean, you can still do that organically, even that purposeful. Let's get on, but you can just, you're developing a friendship anyway, so, or you've already had a friendship for a while, so different aspects of their life.
Right.
And just to be able to say, how the kid's doing, what's going on at home, how your parents, how your folks type thing,
Yeah.
So I do think that can happen organically. Yeah.
All right, we're coming to a close here. So the third one is a mentor is authentic. A mentor's willingness to strip away the veneer and allow a younger man to smell the stench of raw humanity when things didn't work out may be the greatest life lesson he has to share.
Yeah, that's kind of what I highlighted before.
Yeah, right.
You know,
So not trying to soften or butter things up or make your life look perfect.
right.
But letting them in on your own failures and difficulties, and then on the other side of that, what it is you learn from them so that they don't make the same mistakes, the pitfalls you were talking about.
Yeah. So that's some vulnerability there that you have to be willing to open up. Yeah. And again, that will depend on the relationship and whether or not you feel like this is a time for me to be vulnerable or not.
Yeah,
But
some wisdom.
some wisdom in
there.
that. Yeah.
So he personally said, he begins to challenge us here. He personally said that he is praying that God would give him 4 to 6 men that he'll be mentoring for the rest of his life.
4 to 6.
Yeah. Again, he's an empty nester.
Yeah.
He's busy though. I mean, he, family life today, and he's constantly writing.
Yeah. Well, that's 4 to 6. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 4 to 6 or whatever. But to me, the biggest thing was that he's praying for it. Mm-hmm. God, bring people in my life that you want me to speak into, and that's not something I do on a regular basis. To ask God to bring people in my life that I can mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking through that as I was going through the chapter, thinking through some men that I could potentially approach that I already have a good relationship with, and that already, in one way or another, sometimes ask me questions or advice for things, wondering if they might be interested in something like that. But then again, there was the whole time question in my mind. Like my wife expects certain things of me.
Yeah.
I've still got all 5 of my kids in the home, and I don't know exactly what that would look like.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the challenge, even if I can't fully apply it yet.
Right.
And I got 2 boys that may be out of the house in 2 years, 3 years. That's not that far away.
No, be here and gone before you know it.
Yeah. So he challenges us to pray specifically that the Lord would give us 2020 generational vision, and that we would then invest our life into the next generation of men. The 2020 generational vision. Essentially, I mean, how would you describe that? What does he mean by 2020 generational vision?
I don't know. Just seeing clearly what the Lord has before you, and where you can speak life into the next generation and the next generation. I was just praising God the other day. Just, all my kids are, strong believers, and we're doing with a couple of them doing a devotional. We're all doing it together, online. That's one good thing about some of the online stuff. You can communicate.
The YouVersion
the YouVersion study. And, just being able to see the growth of them spiritually. And in my mind thinking, when they have kids, they're going to be, passing on that same. Man, and it just really, it did. It does just bring joy to my heart. And, but I think that's in my mind, that's what I'm thinking, because when I think about it, I'm thinking about my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, who I don't have any grandchildren yet, but I can see that the life of my kids right now will lend to their kids being heavenly minded and faithful believers.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think that's spot on. Ends with this quote. You want to read it? It's a good one. I know you like it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's see. To the world, you may just be somebody, but to somebody, you may just be the world. I like that.
What do you like about that quote?
I like all those that are like, they go one way and then they
use the
same words and do it backwards that have a totally different meaning.
Clever.
Yeah, very clever.
Clever and memorable.
Yeah, very memorable. But it's so true. I mean, you don't know what kind of impact that you might have, and you may mean the world to somebody. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a mentor-mentee type relationship. You can be the world to somebody just from a one-time shot experience. So always be on your toes. Always be looking for a way to
build into other people.
And display or give off. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Show the fruit of the Spirit. And to just be able to exude that.
Yeah.
And you will make an impact no matter what.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think this might be a good time to bring up something I've been thinking about, and it's based on some things that I've been reading, but I think a good way to define love is you are gifting, G-I-F-T, you're gifting yourself in what it is you have to offer, what God has entrusted to you. You're gifting yourself to other people. That's what love is. When God is calling us to love Him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, He's asking us to gift ourselves to Him and to a service. It's our heart is our affections, our desires, our thoughts. The soul, the word there is actually it's nephesh. There's a good Bible project video on this, but it has to do with all of your physical being and capabilities. And then the last word, might, translated might, is actually just the word much or very in the Hebrew, and it has to do with muchness. So everything that you have, right? Your talents, your gifts, your experiences, what we're talking about here, the knowledge that you've gained, your money, whatever it is that God has given you, He's wanting you to gift that back to Him and for a service. But then Jesus adds, the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, which is what mentoring is, right? You're going to gift those things to that person as well. And that could be an organized, I'm sitting down with you on a weekly basis to gift myself to you so that you can be built up and become an even better man than I have been. But it could be a one-off, like you're saying. How many, I'm sure there's been multiple occasions in our lives already where we have just given a piece of advice or encouragement as a one-off conversation to somebody. Maybe we never even talked to them again. Or maybe it was the only serious conversation we ever had with them, but they found themselves a few years later in a situation where the Lord brought that back to mind. And at that moment, you weren't just somebody, you were the world to them because that advice carried them through a difficult situation.
Oh, I love that. Gifting yourselves. I would go one further. I know it's a negative connotation, but I think we can rebrand it to a positive thing, and that is because God is giving you all those things. He's asking you to, the whole thing of regifting. You get a gift, and you take it and you give it to someone else.
Yeah,
regifting. Knowing that's, I like that a lot.
It's a good way to think about it on a daily basis. Yeah. So it was a good chapter.
Yeah.
Generational messengers. Yeah. We are.
We'll hit chapter 21 next week and kind of go from there. So any last comments that you have?
Nope.
So if you guys enjoyed this episode or all the other episodes, any of the other episodes, please take time to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and that just helps out with the algorithm, and hopefully we can build this community more and more and more. So with that, we'll sign off. Always remember that real dads lead.